Hello all of you out there, and in today's video I'm going to share with you the top 10 most retro Ark creatures. In at number 10 is the Arthropleura, and I can't remember what TV series it was back in the day. I think it was in the 90s or early 2000s, and the Arthropleura was in the Carboniferous time of that series. I think it's like Walking with Dinosaurs, something similar to that, and that I think really did boost the knowledge of this creature. And actually, a lot of people, when you do talk about the Carboniferous period, will think of this creature. And obviously it is an Ark, and although not the most highly respected creature out there in the game, it still really does definitely pack a punch in terms of its abilities, being able to break any kind of structure whatsoever, which is insane for PvP players, but in terms of its PvE use, it doesn't really have any. In at number 9 is the Moser, and this creature is essentially the king of the sea, and pretty much every person that knows of oceans and dinosaurs will know of the Mosasaurus, especially considering there's that scene in Jurassic World where it comes out of the kind of like, you can't really call it a swimming pool, it's too big to be a swimming pool, but it comes out of this big kind of aquarium type thing, that's the word for it. And yeah, a lot of people know the Mosasaurus from that, and it is just known for its absolute power in the sea, and it's just such a well-known creature. And yes, you could consider these things retro, obviously they are on its list, but not as retro as some of the other creatures which are further on in the list. Next up we have the Theri, and the Theri has been depicted for so long for obviously its shape and body. This creature is just one of those creatures which people have obviously spoken about and modelled for ages, ever since its discovery. And although it's no retro Triceratops from like the 1800s, the trike isn't on this list by the way, it is still a very interesting creature in all of its features, and in terms of its uses in the Ark game as well, it is very useful, and it will come in handy loads across all of the playing which you'll have in this game. And it is one of the best gatherers, if not the best multi-gathering creature out there, being able to gather fibre, berries, thatch and wood like an absolute beast. And who doesn't want that in a creature like the Theri? It is just so OP in all of its abilities. Next up we have the Spinosaurus, and this creature is definitely very well known, and again has been depicted for absolutely ages, and it is one of those really iconic ones, with its spine obviously kind of being the main essence of this creature. It is called Spinosaurus afterwards. Not sure fully what that is translated from Latin into English. The saurus part is pretty obvious. Is the spino part just meaning spine? Does it just mean spine lizard? It might mean spine lizard. At this point, who knows? Leave a comment down below if you do actually know the Latin to English translation for this creature, as I'd really love to know. But in terms of its abilities in Ark, this is actually one of the most well-rounded carnivores out there. Although it doesn't have the highest health stat compared to some other Ark creatures, it still really does pack a punch, especially in terms of mobility, which you don't really get in some of the bigger carnivores, as it can turn 360 on the spot, and it is really good in the water as well, and it can even go up into its hind legs and deal even more damage. This definitely is a creature worth talking about. Now, the Stego has been very well known for a huge amount of time. This is pretty much the most common herbivore for any person really that remotely knows anything dinosaurs. I don't know why it sounded like I was going to say retarded there. I didn't mean retarded. I don't know what I was thinking of. But yes, any person that kind of knows dinosaur and knows T-Rex and that kind of stuff, they'll know the Stegosaurus and the Triceratops, and you can kind of put the trike here. That would work. The trike can go here as well if you're a kind of trike person, but in terms of memories and retroness and nostalgia for me, the Stego definitely deserves to be on this list more than the trike. But if you're a trike lover, you can take the trike in this spot as well. And also, these things are somehow immune to Microraptors as well, which is just a nice little great ability, which I don't know how many other creatures have in the Ark game, but it's probably just because of rider protection. That ability is absolutely OP. In at number 5, we have the Carno, and this creature is so iconic for its shape mainly, and also the fact that it gets heavily criticized for its arms as well, as they are some of the tiniest things which you will find out there. And I don't actually know why these things' arms are so tiny. I guess they really just didn't need them in any way at all. They were just needed that big head, which can even crush safes if they were still in the real world. Obviously they aren't anymore, but if two clash together, that has enough force to literally break a safe in half, or crush it. Probably it probably won't split the metal. Well, it will, but you know, it's not going to be like clean cut satisfying YouTube video breaking through safe. I don't even know what would come up if you search that. There would be an absolute mess if two Carnos clash together. But either way, the force of them is absolutely insane. And yes, the way that these creatures are depicted, they're just generally known for sort of being that retro dinosaur. If you put a Carnotaurus up, people are going to know what you're talking about. Next up, we have the RG, and albeit the RG hasn't been depicted for huge amounts of time, it still definitely has since the 90s, and it has obviously gained a lot of press. And if you do kind of put the RG there, people will say bird or Argentavis, it just kind of depends. But either way, this kind of shape of creature, and this general creature as well, is quite a standard one as well, and in a lot of ways retro as well, and definitely a nostalgic one for Ark players too, due to its absolutely immense use in the game. And sadly, when making the thumbnail for this video, because I do 3D renderings in Blender to get the images for the dinos on my thumbnails, I couldn't find the original RG model from the game. But if I could get a file for that and then make a thumbnail with it, that would be great for a top 10 video. Sadly, we're just going to have to stick with the new one, but the new model is so much better than the old one. We do have to agree on that. But you know, the old model for Ark is significantly kind of more retro-y vibes. Now, next up we have the Allosaurus, and this creature kind of goes hand in hand with the Rex really in terms of retro dinosaurs and those like 50s and 60s movies. You may find yourself an Allosaurus there amongst everything, and obviously you will get T-Rexes more commonly, but the Allo is definitely very common as well, and it does have a very signature shape, obviously usually being depicted as smaller than the Rex, with kind of somewhat more of an armoured head and generally more kind of armoured scales on them. That's how they tend to be depicted. And you know, maybe like completely upright like they were in the 50s movies as well, which isn't really accurate at all. But you know, we definitely have come a long way since then. But you know, the Ark Allo model still probably isn't, well actually no, it definitely isn't the best Allo depiction out there. I'm not sure if they had feathers or not. I know the Rex did, but you know, we're still kind of in the era of, oh yeah, all dinosaurs, they're just scaly creatures. But a lot of dinosaurs apparently had feathers, and we have a lot of evidence for this. I'm not saying, oh yeah, dinosaurs, they didn't have feathers. No, they did, which is yeah, that's a thing for Ark 2, isn't it, really? Look out for that in Ark 2. Now, has anyone heard of the Raptor? Because if you haven't been living under a rock for the past maybe 60 years, 50 years, 70 years even, then you should know what this creature is. The Velociraptor is one of the most retro creatures, and if you just chuck it on somewhere, anywhere, everyone will know that this is a Velociraptor. It's just a thing that everyone has to know. Even the absolute stupidest of Americans will know what this is. And I know I can't really say that because I'm not an American. I don't have experience of America. Tell me, Americans, does everyone know what a raptor is? Hopefully they do. Otherwise, I'm very concerned for your country. That would be sad if you didn't know what the Velociraptor is. But I'm assuming if you're watching an art channel like I am, then you're gonna know what the Velociraptor is. And although it's not called the Velociraptor in Ark, it's called the Raptor. You know, you still know what it is, and it still is that kind of retro creature. You chuck it on an NES game. Not sure if it is in any NES games actually, but if you chuck it in an NES game, you're still going to know what it is, no matter how low the pixel count, unless it's maybe 1 pixel. That might be a little bit too far. And in at number 1 is the Rex. And what really did you expect? This creature is just kind of the most retro-y creature out there. Just everyone knows what it is, and it's been depicted through the ages in so many things, all the way from those really terrible B movies of the 50s right to today, and it is definitely considered a kind of retro dinosaur. And you can go back through all the ages and looked through all of the different depictions of the Rex. And you can't really say that about all the creatures on the list, but there are definitely some different depictions of all the creatures here, but not with the sheer variety that a creature like the Rex has. And although the Ark Rex model still does look very nice and kind of very what the Rex maybe would have looked like if it was around in real life, still it is missing those feathers like I've said earlier. But the Ark 2 Rex does seem to have them, so I can't actually wait for Ark 2 to come out, whenever that is. Honestly, I'm not even going to look at the launch date. I'm just going to wait for a trailer with the launch date to come out. That obviously wasn't the original trailer. It said like June 2022 or something like that. Yeah, it's a lot past June 2022 now. So thank you to my wonderful patrons Ekaterina Puchkova, Karina Thorne, Dominic Masijewski, and Ethan Tapia, who have all supported me through Patreon or through YouTube memberships. If you want to join this list, then go join Patreon or YouTube members, but thanks to all of these guys.